Before there were allergy-free tables in school cafeterias, it seemed every kid when I was growing up had a PB&J sandwich in their lunch at least once a week. It seems almost foreign to me now to make my daughter's lunches and have to move the household Jif aside to grab some allergy-friendly sunflower seed butter. No, seriously, that's a thing. She's not even allergic, but I can't look like a terrible mom taunting the kids with a peanut allergy with an amazing Fluffernutter. Beginning as a slave food, then as a source of protein during World War II, and even though it's not as loved by our friends over in the UK, it's still an American staple and favorite. I'm your host, Emily Prokop, and this is the story behind peanut butter. But first, a quick word from #PodernFamily, a great group of indie podcasters like me. Want to know the story behind Podern Family? Podern Family started with a hashtag for indie podcasters. The podcasters who do this for fun and because we're passionate. We're not the big podcast you hear about, most likely. We don't have 10 to 15 people helping us with production. But that doesn't mean the quality and content you're getting isn't as good as any of those shows. Is there an area of interest you like talking to people about? Listen to an indie podcast on that topic. The hosts are incredibly reachable. We're basically clamoring to hear from listeners. We're just as much your fans as you are ours. No matter what you're interested in, Podern Family's got a show for you. Like movies and TV? Check out the Epic Film Guys, the Something Something Cast, the Boxers, or the Countdown Movie and TV Review. Do you like comedy? Check out Everyone Has a Podcast, The One Word Go Show, Afterburn 739, Now That I'm Older, Rick and Paul Heal the World, or Off in the Weeds. How about random trivia and fun facts? Check out The Endless Knot, or The Story Behind. Like comic books and geek culture? Check out Geek Yogurt Podcast or Little Geek Lost. I could go on, and believe me when I say there are a whole lot more where that came from. But you can find all these and more by searching the hashtag #PodernFamily on Twitter. Despite its name, peanuts aren't actually a nut. They're a legume. That's why you may come across someone with a tree nut allergy, which includes almonds, walnuts, and cashews, but not peanuts, and vice versa, a peanut allergy, but not other types of nuts. Peanut butter can trace its roots back to the 18th century, and maybe even further, but it first became well known in 1895 when Dr. John Harvey Kellogg, the creator of Kellogg's Corn Flakes, patented the process of making peanut butter and marketed it as a protein substitute for those who had trouble chewing. And he gave it to his patients at Battle Creek Sanitarium. By the way, Kellogg's Corn Flakes were originally invented to control Kellogg's patients' sexual desires, but that's a story for another day. In the South during the 1910s and 20s, Dr. George Washington Carver urged cotton farmers to switch to planting peanuts, and he was said to invent more than 300 uses for them. Not peanut butter, though he's falsely credited with it. When meat and butter became scarce during World War II, peanut butter made a cheap and easily accessible substitute for protein. Peanut butter was even supplied to the U.S. military during that time, and it's said that GIs added jelly to their peanut butter to make it taste better. When they came home and the baby boom happened, that seemed to be when peanut butter and jelly sandwiches became as popular as they are in the U.S. By the time a child in America is 18, they have consumed an average of 1,500 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Before Jif hit the market in 1958, peanut oil was used to stabilize peanut butter, but Jif switched the standard formula to use more vegetable oils such as soy or canola. It surpassed Skippy as the market leader because it had more of a molasses taste, supposedly because honey was also added. But Jif hit a snag when it was reported in Consumer Reports that half a cup of cooking fat was mixed with Jif peanuts, giving it the creamy quality it was known for. The FDA proposed that peanut butter consist of 95% peanuts, and Jif began changing its label to peanut spread instead of peanut butter. Following this was what the FDA and peanut butter lawyers, yes, that is their job title, referred to as the 12-year peanut butter case. The case involved 20 weeks of hearings to negotiate the percentage of peanuts for a product to be called peanut butter, with peanut butter manufacturers asking for 87%. A feisty woman known for her consumer activism named Ruth Desmond formed the Federation of Homemakers, and in 1965, when the hearings began, she would show up for all 20 weeks and would argue on the side of FDA asking for at least 90% peanuts.
The manufacturers want to be able to make it more and more like peanut-flavored cold cream. We want to keep this product traditionally simple. It's time to reverse this trend and take the chemicals out of food.
She was met with opposition, of course. Lee Avera, an official with Skippy, was quoted as saying,
"I feel we must not and cannot freeze America or industry at its present levels of expertise in food manufacture because we have too much to gain on the plus side."
Desmond would attend these hearings for weeks, and as she did so, she would leave a simple dinner for her husband Gordon and tell him,
"I cannot leave them alone, these lawyers."
Following the hearings in which the FDA's 90% peanuts won out, it took another 5 years for the U.S. Appeals Court to affirm that standard. And after 12 years from the initial proposal, it was put into law that anything labeled as peanut butter must be at least 90% peanuts. And this is still the law today. If you were to go across the pond, you would find out that peanut butter isn't as loved as it is in the States. A teacher at Leith's School of Food and Wine surmises that it might be the texture that turns Britons against it, as they find the mouth coating repulsive. For those who know me from the Classy Little Podcast, you'll remember how I hated the term mouthfeel. I didn't think I would hate a term more until I read the word mouth coating. Ugh. Also in the UK, mixing their beloved jam with peanut butter is basically poo-pooed upon. But America disagrees. The Huffington Post asked its readers in September of 2014 what makes the best peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, reporting results for favorite type of jelly or jam, with strawberry jam as the winner, favorite type of bread, which turned out to be white, and favorite type of peanut butter as smooth as opposed to chunky, which they are clearly wrong about. Former President Bill Clinton, as well as Elvis, reportedly favored peanut butter and banana sandwiches. And speaking of presidents, not one but two presidents of the United States have been peanut farmers, Thomas Jefferson and Jimmy Carter. The role of Ruth Desmond was played by Lisa from Crime and Precedents, and Mark from the Unskippable Podcast played Lee Avera. Information for this episode was sourced from peanutbutterlovers.com, veganlearningcenter.com, atlasobscura.com, Mental Floss, The Independent, Slate, the National Peanut Board, and the book Creamy and Crunchy, An Informal History of Peanut Butter, the All-American Food. For these links and more, visit the show notes at thestorybehindpodcast.com. Follow on Twitter at StoryBehindPod, or subscribe on your podcatcher of choice so you'll never miss an episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Story Behind. If you've listened to past episodes, what do you think so far? Have you found yourself telling your friends random trivia about the theremin, gunpowder, or secret ballots yet? If you enjoy the show, could I ask you a favor? Could you go over to iTunes or Stitcher and leave a rating and or review for the show? It would mean so much to me, and it will help others find it. I can't offer you anything, really, other than some warm fuzzies, but I will be eternally grateful to you. Thanks.